Hello everyone, and welcome to the next video in the course where we will be looking at scopes. Okay, so as I said in the previous video, certain variables will not work in all areas of the code depending on where you have initialized the variable. Here I have a couple of examples to show and demonstrate how and why it will not work. Okay. So the first example is in a loop. So I have created a simple for loop that should just output, that creates a variable name. Okay, and here I have tried to output my name, which is a variable I created in the for loop. And as you can see, it's got a red line and it will not work. And that is because you can't, my name is something that is available only for the scope of the for loop, and so it cannot be accessed outside of that scope. Okay, so that's simple enough, but I will just show you by running that it will not work. Okay, so as you can see, there is an error. Okay, but something that might be tricky to get your head around is the fact that if I go ahead and create a for loop here, I'll just say int a, 2 and a plus plus, the my name variable is accessible here. So I can put my name and it will work here, since the for loop is in the scope of the outside for loop. Okay, so that might be a bit tricky to get your head around at first, but that's how it works, since this for loop is in the scope of the greater for loop. Okay, so I hope you were able to follow along with the inside and outside for loop, but if not, don't worry, you'll pick it up as we move along the course. Okay, so we'll move that. Actually, what we'll do is I'll get rid of this, and now I'll run it to show that this will work. Okay, so the problem here was I put I instead of A. Okay, so now if we run this, let me make these 0. Okay, so now if we save and run this, it should work, and as you can see, it is displaying my name variable. Okay, so that's great. So the next example we will look at is functions to main. Okay, so this is the code to demonstrate. So I have a function here, and it takes the parameter of a var here variable, and inside the function is a variable called new variable. So I call the function here example function and just give a number, and here I try to output the parameter variable, and here I try to output the variable that is inside the function. And as you can see, we've got red lines, and just to prove that it doesn't work, I will run it. Okay, and same as before, this won't work because these variables are to the scope of the function, and this is outside of that scope. Okay, so the last example we have here, as opposed to others, will work since they are of the same scope. Okay. However, a good way to think of it might be outside to inside, since the number here is requesting or getting the variable from outside and bringing it inside, as opposed to others which were requesting the variable inside the scope to outside the scope. Now that might have been a little confusing, so I'll just go over it again. So this works because they are of the same scope, and a helpful way to think of it might be that it will work. The code will work if you are referencing a variable that is outside of a scope to the inside, but will not work if you are requesting a variable or trying to access a variable from inside another scope and trying to bring it to another scope. Okay, so what I will do is save and run this to show that it will work. So I'll write equals 0. As you can see, it's printed 3, but if we create a string name equals Bob and then try and output here name, it won't work because from outside of the scope we are trying to access a variable that is inside of a scope. However, here from the inside of a scope we are accessing a variable that is outside of a scope, but they are of the same scope. Together, they are of the same scope of the main function. Okay, so that might have been a little difficult, but I hope you were able to follow along. And even if you weren't able to follow with the third example, I hope you were able to understand that this will work. This will work. Okay, so I hope you were able to follow along, and I will see you in the next video.